Hey guys, it's Yanta. Welcome back to the channel. Now, before I go into the topic, I just want to say this. I don't know what is it about this topic. I don't know what is it about this word. I don't know what is it about this video or audio rather that it feels like everything I'm doing it's not working. Okay. So this topic is something I've been meaning to talk about at least 8 months ago. And I never got around doing it. And I think I had a conversation with someone that led me to having a thought process, and I was like, I need to talk about this, and I just never did it. It was more like an epiphany about myself, and I just never did it. However, last Friday, I was talking to a friend of mine who called me. They happened to have been binge watching the series Chasing After Tanya, and in one of the last epiphany video, other step, there's something she brought my attention to, and yeah, and I appreciated that. And then she jokingly but seriously at the same time mentioned how it drove her absolutely insane to watch me do the time segment um, with my little headset, and I I was like, well, this is all I got right now, defensively, and I know I'm supposed to do this, and I left it at that. Then she offered to buy me a mic, and I had a thought process about how at first the first thought was to say no, it's okay, I'll eventually handle it. But then before I even said that, it was like I combated that thought with saying, well, I mean, yeah, why not? I know what I want, and this, that, and the third. And she was like, okay, send them to me. After I get off the phone with her, before I get off the phone, then we talked about other things. And before I got off the phone with her, she reminded me not to forget to send her the link of the mics that I wanted. So when I get off the phone, I could not stop thinking about how I almost tried to block my blessings. And I think I mentioned it in the conversation, like, back in the days, I would be like, no, it's okay, but you know what? I'm not going to say no to a free mic, whatever. So as I was doing the research, I found myself trying not to be burdensome by finding mics that were as affordable as possible. But then at the same time, the most affordable ones may not be the ones that are, of good quality. And then I was like, Yonta, what are you doing? She offered, you didn't ask. And what's the purpose of having them buy something affordable or cheap, I guess I should say, to an effort to not be burdensome versus finding something that is of good value, that will be worth the investment, because their offer had to do with good quality content. Well, the content was quality, but having the equipment to make the content even better, not show off, not to have something, you know. So of course I did my research and I read my reviews, and I found two different mics. One was a lapel mic, and one was the one I currently have, which I'm not using right now. You want to know why? Remember in the beginning how I was telling you, I don't know what is it about this word that feels like everything is trying to stop it. I get the mic when the mic finally gets here, and I spent a whole week trying to figure out how to make it compatible, or trying to get my other equipment to work that I've been using this whole time. So let me tell you the story about the. So okay, so when I sent her the link, I hadn't gotten any response, and I just assumed in my mind that she changed her mind, and etc. And which also forced me to start thinking about, why did I try to block my blessings, when I was talking to her. and realized that it was a vulnerability issue. Yeah, so the mic gets here, and I realized, oh snap! I was excited, almost would not have gotten it because I had forgotten to put the apartment number on the mic. And thank God the building manager noticed that, saw me, and then eventually asked me if I was expecting a package, and we figured it out and found out it was mine, and it was the mic, and I was excited. I did a small little unpacking video for you guys and was gonna post the unpacking, but I could not get out of my mind the thought of me trying to downplay my blessings. Then I'm reminded of the vulnerability topic that I wanted to talk about, and I think the reason why I did that is because in order for me to admit that I need her to do that investment, I had to admit that I couldn't afford it at the moment, and I had to be clear about I didn't work this summer. Not really a fault of my own because I got sick. Thank God it wasn't COVID, but I work out of school, and school ends when school ends. Although I was to do summer school, I wasn't able to because I got sick. But it did force me to rest. Unfortunately, at the same time, believing that I was supposed to move, meaning not stay in the apartment that I was in, moving into a bigger space, I did not renew my lease. Unfortunately, because I didn't work this summer, I didn't get new funding that were coming in to help that move. So I'm in between moving space. I am safe. I am with my neighbor. She was my neighbor when we both lived at my old apartment, who throughout that 1 year I've been in Chicago really has become a sister family. And she was also moving because we moved in around the same time, and I was staying with her, and we're at her new apartment. So that's probably one of the reasons why my brain did not process to put the apartment number, because I'm not used to this address yet, but also why I wasn't really expecting a package, and I was shocked when I saw that it came, especially given the fact that my friend did not, let me know that she was sending it. Yeah, so since the mic had gotten here, I've been trying everything that I can. It's more like a podcast, more like a recording music, more like a gamer that comes with the USB, and that's attached to the computer. Unfortunately, none of my recording devices on my laptop for some reason would let me be great. I have been trying since this mic got here. That Monday alone, I think I tested it. Tuesday, I woke up mad early, super excited, recorded at least 3 or 4 videos. If it wasn't the sound that was messing up, the visual was messing up, and I would have had to sync the sound with the visual, because then I would be recording them separately, because it doesn't attach directly to my recording device, which is my phone at the moment. Because I don't have access to all my things as well, I don't have access to my camera, etc. Right? So I tried different recording device this week. The app not working. I've been trying everything. Yesterday, I thought I figured out a solution by directly recording a video with the mic connected directly to my editing software. It recorded just fine, and then when it was time to edit, the sound went blank. Like the whole sound just distorted. And it was like, what in the world? And this morning I woke up, I said, you know what? I'm just going to record a voiceover. My laptop decided it's not going to turn on. So I'm like, right now I'm trying my phone audio and just using my headset. And this is why you guys are not seeing me. And you just see, I'm like, okay, the only time things like this seems to be happening, um, where it's like it feels like I'm doing an act of obedience, and it seems like all hell breaks loose regarding that. And I've been doing these videos already, and I don't understand why this specific topic is such a thing. But anyways, while this is the mic, receiving the mic in that conversation with my friend is what really pushed me to decide I'm actually going to record this topic for you guys, or put this out there. That's not what started it. What started it, I think, is what really is the meat of the importance. 8 months ago, like I said, I think I was having a conversation with someone. The conversation was really about singleness and sexuality and being a virgin. And the person, I left the conversation with the impression that the person thinks that it's because I'm a Miss Goody Two Shoes, or I think so highly of myself as to why I have been able to keep myself, or not, giving myself to a man, or maybe because they've never seen me in a relationship, etc. And while that's cute, and I'm not offended by that, that's actually not even the truth. And I thought to myself, only if they knew. Number one, that I have trust issues. I have trust issues because I've been taken advantage of. I have trust issues because I've been betrayed. I have trust issues because rejection is a thing. But also, my body, keeping my body to myself, is also the one thing I can control. Life hasn't ever been easy, and it always seems like everything is out of my control and things doesn't go the way I would like them to. My body is the only thing that I can control as to what I do with it. As far as my sexuality, or being a virgin or whatever, it has nothing to do with trying to be good. I mean, that is honorable, and as a Christian, that's the way it should be. But that wasn't it's like, oh my gosh, because it wasn't because like, oh my gosh, I'm a Christian and I want to be a virgin till I get married. Although that's part of the truth, but the real truth is, the only reason that I have been able to do it is because my trust issue is stronger. My fear is stronger than the desire to give my body. Matter of fact, for me as a person, I don't even like people touching me like that. So it requires a certain level, like, unless I'm just like in a high mood and I'm initiating the hug and I'm initiating the connection, there has to be a certain level of trust and intimacy in order for someone to just think they're gonna just be touching me like they got, like, don't do that. And intimacy, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be vulnerable to allow somebody to look at you or see you, or see inside of you, or share certain things that builds bond, to have intimacy. And I haven't really realistically had that experience with someone that I would want to give in my body. And there are people that maybe I'm attracted to, and I would, because your flesh is your flesh, but then you have a conversation with them and you're like, ew. Their personality is just plain nasty. But I think the biggest fear for me is I have a hard time forgiving myself when I mess up, right? And this is a promise I had made to myself. Yes, I do want to wait. Yes, I would like, my husband to be the first person I do X, Y, and Z with. And while I can forgive someone easy, I have a hard time forgiving myself for simpler things. And I couldn't see myself forgiving myself after giving myself to someone who hasn't committed. You know what I mean? Like, There's no commitment, and the only true commitment there is the commitment of marriage. Doesn't mean that someone who is committed can't betray you, can't hurt you, can't take advantage of you. But if they do, I have a probable cause to be mad at them because they broke a promise. And also, as someone who has been walking by faith, marriage is also one of those things I'm believing by faith that God will help me say yes to the right person, someone that He would approve, someone that if He were to pick together, He would do. And if God is putting two people together, and He mess up, I get to go to God and be like, look, that man you gave me, like Adam and Eve did, that man you gave me, he's stripping again. You need to figure it out, versus someone who did not commit and I choose to give my body, and now I feel like I'm betraying myself, and I can't even keep them accountable because there was no promise made. There was no commitment. They don't owe me any respect. They don't owe me integrity. They don't owe me loyalty. They don't owe me anything. But, and that takes a certain level of vulnerability that they just don't deserve, to my opinion. And I don't want to deal with that. I really don't. And sometimes when I, see what people go through in relationships, with people they're not even committed to, I'll be thinking to myself like, man, I would rather be single. Or even for the simple fact that, I've spent even the past 5 years chasing itsyanta, meaning trying to find who I am in my identity. I would have made a horrible mate, and because I would be the wrong version of myself trying to love on someone else and not even knowing how to love myself yet. And I just think, I don't know, I think the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because it was like we decide for people what we think they are or who we think they are based on our understanding or experience of based on what we would do. You do what's right for you, allow other people to do what's right for them, because at the end of the day, whatever it is that you do, decisions you make, you have to deal with the consequences or lack thereof. You have, like, you wouldn't have to deal with the guilt, with the shame, with the betrayal, with the depression of someone's decision. Like, I think it's so weird that people are always so caught up with, like, just this week somebody asked me, are you married? No. You're not married, and they're so shocked. Or do you have kids? No. Why don't you have kids? I just told you I'm not married. And I don't know, it's like we get so caught up in people's relationship and why they do this, and you're too old to for this, and you too whatever. It's like, well, you're not going to take care of the kid, you're not going to pay their bills, you're not going to cry with them when they're having a hard time in their relationship, all that extra stuff that comes with a relationship. And people are out here married and still not committed. And it's like the level of vulnerability that it takes to deal with a relationship is a lot. And it's also extremely scary, but it's also necessary on the other end if you are building a relationship and you want it to have a strong bond. And also if you want to be able to receive blessings, because sometimes it takes you to be vulnerable to talk about your need in order for whoever you're speaking with to know how they can help, how they can support, and how they can be there for you. But also being able to be vulnerable in a relationship, and that's any relationship. Allow the person to really know you, and you get to give them the opportunity to prove themselves deserving of the effort which then build, I think, bonds and trust, and which I think is important. I mean, I'm not a relationship expert at all, but I've had friendships and relationships, and I know what it feels like to be betrayed, and I know what it feels like to feel rejected. I know what it feels like to be hurt or to be left or etc. And I know what was most important to me in those relationships and what made them, successful or not successful, what lacking, because I like to reflect. So yeah, I think that's everything. I feel like I said a lot. I don't know if I even touched the topic, but what I do know is that I think I need to put this out there today, whatever it takes. I'm already behind in the videos anyway, so I really need to get this out here, even if it means a picture and an audio. So what is the moral of the story? I have had issue with vulnerability because I have a fear of rejection. I have a control, fear of rejection. It's crazy because I am an honest person, and I would rather having to be honest, and I would rather integrity. So when I'm around someone and it feels like I have to walk around eggshell, naturally I will pull back. But I'm also a giver, and it doesn't matter who it is, I will give. Even when I'm not giving my best, I still give, and people still get attached. So someone can be attached to me, and I'm not attached to them because I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable with them, although they're comfortable with being vulnerable with me. For whatever reason, people usually are, and they tell me way more than I care to hear. Maybe because they can sense that I'm caring. I don't know. Maybe because I'm a good listener. But I just lost my train of thought. And something else is that I love deeply and I give my best, and I couldn't fathom giving everything that I have to someone who wouldn't give the same. And I feel like it's rare. The way I love people and care and take things deeply, I feel like it's rare out there. But also, sometimes it feels like when I am my full self, as far as like my thought process, the way I feel, the way I take things deeply, the way I'm dramatically, the way I dramatically go after things and support, etc. I feel like sometimes people feel like it's too much, or like as if I'm doing the most, or it's too deep or too heavy. I feel like people often shy away from deep conversations, and those are necessary for me. They're very necessary for me. I don't know that I could be with someone who I wouldn't be able to have these conversations with. I don't know that I could be with someone who would think that I'm too much. I don't know that I can be with someone who shies away from how I love them. And because it will make me feel rejected. It will make me feel like that I shrink. And I shrink most of the time when I'm uncomfortable because it's a safe space for me. So I tend to shut up more often, and when I do speak, it sounds so, oh my gosh, but it's like that's not even half of the things I really wanted to say. What are you oh my goshing about? I digress way more than I really should. And I think I'm at a season where God is saying no more digressing, no more shrinking, no more hiding. And I think for me, it's a matter of finding, okay, what are the spaces that you're wanting me to take up space? Where are you wanting me to speak, and what are you wanting me to speak about, and who are the people that you putting in my life for me to continue to blossom in this version of me that you created before you saw me in my mother's womb, and linking up with them and allowing myself to be vulnerable with them, build friendship, build bonds, and grow in a relationship. And that doesn't necessarily mean romantic. It'll also mean business partners and etc. Being in rooms and spaces where you can be fully yourself, where you still learn and you can serve, where you still have, value to bring to the room, and still be around people who make you a better version of you. So, and that's the space I am here now, and I guess this is why I needed to talk about this, because I think part of the reason why God allowed me to get sick and not work in the summer, because it forced me to sit down and start thinking again, like, God, I know what you showed me, and I'm pretty sure I know that you showed me that I was supposed to be moving Why why aren't the resources coming? And then, that forced me to sit back and go back to thinking, what is it that made me believe that God wanted me to move? Let's look at it again, and realizing that, yeah, he did, but he also showed me some things that I misunderstood, because it would require me to be vulnerable to go about it that way. So I had different expectations that would allow me to have my together and move accordingly. But no, exactly what he showed me is exactly what happened. And I feel like he forced me to be in a vulnerable space, in a vulnerable situation, in a vulnerable spot, where I have to trust someone else to not think of me less than, or to still take up space and feel comfortable and not feel bad, not feel burdensome, and experience the actual beauty and having someone you can trust, without feeling like a burden, and how beautiful that is in comparison to not having it, which is pretty cool to experience that, in a way. And which also makes sense because I'm hands on and I'm a visual learner and I'm a hands on learner. I don't really understand something until I've done it or have experienced it. You know what I mean? And I feel like for someone who feel like I've experienced more loss and more sadness than joy, although my nature is joy, my nature is peace. Um, Being in this season where I feel like God is talking about restoration, getting back everything the devil stole from everything that I lost, it makes sense that while God is restoring, he would also restore the space where I don't have to I don't have to be the person who seems like I always give and I'm always at someone else's service, but can't always find that. And if I'm gonna move forward, if I'm gonna grow, if I'm gonna become better version of me, if I'm gonna have more territory, if I'm gonna, build in the promised land, if I'm going to take up space, it's gonna require vulnerability, and it's gonna require being able to be vulnerable about my needs, about my wants, um, about my expectations, um, and trust that, I'm not always lacking. Trust that God God has always provided. But I think the way my journey has been, it was more like I walk by faith based on what he said. But now it's kind of like, okay, what is it that you want? So yeah, I think it is important for me to see the other end of things, where it's like, yeah, you're here in a space that's not necessarily yours. However, you don't feel like a burden. It feels more like a partnership. And it's not somebody I've known for years, but good people are good people, period. Just like she trusted me when we were in separate spaces, and she was vulnerable with me. Now it's like a time. It's like, well, I start school next week, and eventually, hopefully about October, I'll be able to, save and get my space. But being here, it's one of the few times being outside of my home, or even in my home, or even with someone else in my space, where I don't feel burdensome, I don't feel useless, I don't feel like maybe they think of me less or whatever. I don't feel like I have to prove a point, or I don't feel like I have to make up for something. That's it. Yeah, with that being, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. It's already like about 30 minutes long, so we're gonna end it here. I hope whoever this is for, it encourages you. I don't know the full purpose of this. I just do it because I believe that's what I'm supposed to do. So oftentimes, everything that I post, I do it as an act of obedience. and trust God to do the rest. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, the next video that I drop, it will be like you get to see me. But if not, we're gonna deal with this way. Bye.